Hi guys, this is Amanda. I decided that I want to pray over the people that watch my videos. I know I don't know your background and I don't know your religious affiliation, and I hope this doesn't offend you. I don't mean it to. I just wanted to bless you. Dear Heavenly Father, I come to you today. I ask that you give the person watching this peace and comfort and joy. Give them wisdom. Help them to understand the things that you have for them. Help them to know that they are not alone, that you are with them. Be with their finances. Be with their households. Be with everything that they encounter. Help them to encounter it in a way that only you can. Help them to find joy as they watch this video, and help them to find joy throughout the rest of this week. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Hi guys, this is Amanda Whitney. I'm coming to you today to do a tutorial on how to do paint pouring in a cost-effective way for beginners. So if you're not a beginner, this is going to be a long video. I recommend that you watch through, but if you are a beginner, this is going to give you like the basic knowledge on how to do paint pouring, have fun with paint pouring, but in as cheapest way as possible. So what are you going to pour on and what are you going to pour with? So as you can see, this is canvases. This is 8x10s. 8x10s are your cheapest canvases to buy. I recommend that you get them from Amazon or at Hobby Lobby or Michael's only when they're on sale. So they're $20 regular. You can get 8x10s, you get 10 of them. Other sizes you get 5 to 7 to 6 to 8 depending on the size of them. They run $20 to $19.99. But every other week or so, either Michael's or Hobby Lobby or both of them will put them on sale for 50% off. So you can get them for $10 if you look for the sales. If you don't look for the sales, then you're going to spend $20, and I wouldn't recommend that. It's not cost effective. Amazon sells them, so between 10 and 11. If you can find anything on Amazon for under $11, that's a good deal. If they're 8x10s or bigger. If they make the smaller sizes for smaller. Okay, so if this is your first time pouring and you're just a beginner, canvases can get expensive. Also, when you're a beginner, you really don't have your technique down and you're working on trying to master it, and you're also going to be working on letting go and letting the paint flow. So the more you try to control pouring, the more frustrated you're going to get with it. I recommend that if you're starting off and you're going to start pouring, that you go to your local tool store, Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever's in your area. They sell, this is a 4x4 tile. A box of these, of 100 of them, are $8. So when you're beginning and you're just starting off and you're trying to figure out your technique and you're trying to figure out what you like, how you like to do it, do the tiles. You can do some canvases, but only a few, but do a lot of tiles to get your technique out. So these are 4x4. They also sell them in 6x6, which gets a little bigger. The 6x6 for like 69 cents a piece. But I'll buy a box of these, which cost me $8 in my area. So I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. So it might be a little bit different in your area, but in my area, they're only $8 for 100. So paints. What kind of paints can you choose to pour with? Anything that's acrylic, you can pour with. So craft paint, acrylic. Artistry paint, acrylic. Even household paint from your Home Depot and that, is acrylic. So when you start off and you're on a budget, you're gonna want to start with some craft paint. This just came from Walmart. This is just your apple barrel craft paint. It's a $2.50 for a big one, 50 cents for a little one. Hobby Lobby's, Michael's will have sales on their crafts paints, and you can get those at that place for cheaper than Walmart. But there's usually a Walmart near everybody if they're going to start doing stuff. Now, artistry paint, the cheapest artistry paint that I can find usually is Artist Loft. So this is Artist Loft in a 4 ounce, and then this is Artist Loft Pour Acrylic. Now, Michaels and Hobby Lobby will put these on sale too. When they're on sale, purchase them from them. If they're not on sale, it's not worth your money if you're just starting out. Also, learn how to mix paints and don't buy every shade imaginable that are there. So if you get a dark purple and some white, you can make a light purple. If you get a dark blue and some white, you can make a light blue. Reds, blues make purple, blues and yellows make green. Mixing hot paint will save you money in this process too. I'm going to show you a pour, some basic pours, a flip cup and a dirty pour with your craft paint. Now, the next question you always get is, what is your pouring medium? My pouring medium is a 1-to-1 Elmer's Glue All and Floetrol. That's what I choose. That's what I like. There's tons of YouTube videos out there on how to mix up a medium, and there's tons of mediums that are already mixed. They can be very expensive. So, Floetrol. Floetrol you can find on Amazon, or you can find at your local Home Depot. A gallon of Floetrol in my Home Depot costs $14. Glue All on Amazon, I can get 2 gallons for $22, so that's like $11 a piece. I haven't found them in store cheaper than that, or I would give you that recommendation. So I mix my medium in a shaker bottle. So this is a Walmart shaker bottle, $4. Comes with a ball in it. It has little measurements on it, which I don't know if you can see. And so I do 400% Floetrol and 400% Glue All, and then I shake it up with the ball that's in this thing. Floetrol clumps up. It has something in it that makes little clumpy things. So when you're using Floetrol, you really need to shake good before you pour. If you're just starting out and you're just going to do one painting at a time, don't mix a whole bunch of medium. But if you like me and you paint every day or every other day and you're mixing paints in a big amount, then you need something to mix a big amount in. So I choose this bottle. You can choose any bottle. It's just easier if you're going to do it. If you're just doing Floetrol, you don't need a mixer bottle. If you're just doing Glue All, you don't need a mixer bottle, because you can do either one of those by themselves with just water. So like everybody has a preference of what they're going to use. So, and everybody figures a way to do their preference. So I did a 4-panel mixer, and so I did just Floetrol, just glue, 50% Floetrol, 25% Floetrol, and I seen what I liked, and I like the 50-50 mix better than I like any of them. Floetrol, this is what it looks like with just Floetrol and water. Floetrol and water looks great. If that's your preference, so be it. If glue is just your preference, this is a warning. Do you see these little bubbles? When you're doing glue, you need to make sure you heat it up good and get the air bubbles out, because the glue's thick, and when you're mixing, you have to mix vigorously. And so when you're mixing vigorously, it makes air in your mixture. When you're mixing vigorously, those air bubbles are hard to come out. Even though I add alcohol to my mixture, if you don't heat it up enough to make sure all the air bubbles pop, you get these bumpy systems that come through, and sometimes they'll break through and make a full open hole in your painting. Just be aware, if you're going to do just glue, you need to make sure you have a torch. This cost me $14 on Amazon. At Home Depot, it'll cost you like $32, so do not buy it from Home Depot. Get it from Amazon. It's only $14. If you're using glue, you don't need a torch if you like textures. You don't need a torch if you have a problem with chemicals mixing with heat. You don't need a torch if you don't want to get your air bubbles and that out. You can use this, you can use a hairdryer, you can use a heat gun, but to make cells and to get stuff reactions to happen, using a torch makes that happen easier. So right now I'm going to move this stuff out the way and I'm going to show you how to mix up your paint. I already mixed 3 of the colors that we're going to use. I'm only going to mix 1 of the colors and I'm pulling out a scale. A scale, for the first 6 months of doing art, I did not use a scale. And you get a flow for the feel of the consistency, but sometimes it's just different consistency, and so sometimes you think maybe it's just a paint. Different paints have different weights, and so things happen when your paint is not mixed right. So if your paint is too thin, you see this outline of here, on the outer skirts of your picture, and when it dries it will start to show the canvas up. So if you mix too thin, you get these problems. If you mix too thick, your paint will craze, is what they call it. It's so your paint dries at different levels, and when it dries, some dries faster than the other, your paint starts to make this kind of textury effect, and they call it crazing. They have stuff that you can use, that you put in your paint to stop crazing. Actually, this is one of my son's pictures, and he likes too much paint no matter how much I tell him not to, and so he crazes often. I use a scale now to mix my paint. When you're messing with craft paint, the ratio is going to be 1:1 paint and your medium, and a little bit of water depending on the color. So red required a little bit of water, blue did not. I don't know if that's just this blue. I'm really not good with science. So this blue required more blue. Because it's craft paint, the consistency, because it's cheap paint, is not always there. So we're going to find out when we mix the purple up if the consistency is there for the purple. So when you're mixing, cheap alternatives for cups to mix in. So this is a paper bathroom cup. I got it from the Dollar Tree. It comes with 36 in it. These are just 2-3 ounces, and I mix in there. Sometimes I use plastic cups to mix in. Sometimes I use yogurt containers. You can use yogurt containers. You can use anything you can recycle if you're a recycler, to make it cheaper on you in the process. So let's make sure that you can see me. When I'm mixing my paint, I'm mixing grams, because each paint has a different weight to them, versus just mixing in ounces. And so I'm going to do a 1:1 ratio. So I'm going to do 20 grams of paint and 20 grams of my medium. And so I'm going to do 21 grams of paint. If you're doing craft paint, I always recommend to just stir it up a little bit, because sometimes the consistency of it is chunky. Also, if you're using craft paint that you've had in your closet for months, years ago, make sure that it's smooth with no chunks before you do this process. If it has chunks in it, it will leave chunks on your picture. We're at 20% and 21, and then I'm going to add to get to 40. And so when you're mixing your paint, remember to scrape the bottom of your cup and the sides of your cup. to it. The craft paint is tricky when it comes to mixing. Okay, that's better. When you're dealing with the best thing about artistry paint, like Artist Loft, it's thicker. So your ratio is 1 part paint. Some people do 2 parts medium. I use 1.5 part medium and a 0.5% water because they're so much thicker. So your paint goes a lot farther, makes better colors, but it is more expensive. So that is mix my paint. This is alcohol, rubbing alcohol. So I have rubbing alcohol. I put a couple of drops in there and I stir it up to get rid of the air bubbles in the paint. So that helps you get rid of the air bubbles before you torch. So I put alcohol in every one of these cups already. Now let's talk about making cells. So you need silicone or some form of silicone to make cells. So this came from Home Depot. It's in the paint section. Ask them for silicone, they'll show you where you can find it. Now this is a hair serum that I get off of Amazon. It's called OGX. It's coconut milk, smells really good, and it works awesome for making cells. It doesn't take a lot. This stuff takes anywhere between 5 to 7 drops. This takes 1 drop. This makes cells. This makes really good cells. This has like a smell from like paint. This smells like coconut. So whatever you can get your hands on. I had to get this from Amazon. I could not find it at the store where I live. So if you don't shop on Amazon, I don't know where to tell you to get it from. If you don't shop online, I don't know where to tell you to get it from. So if you don't do online shopping, your only choice is going to Home Depot and finding a silicone or a Lowe's or an art supply store near you. This you can get offline and it works really, really good. I'm going to show you both of them. I'll put them in. So this only takes 1 drop. Alright, I'll put 2 in this and then I'll show you. This, so this takes, whoa, that was not drops. It's not what I'm going to say that's got enough because I really don't know. I have no idea how many drops hit that. I'll count the drops out here. We'll try better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just make sure we got some good drops going on because I think it's more than an ounce. So this, do like 1 or 2 stirs. If you want big cells, you stir less when it comes to this stuff from Home Depot, the 3-in-1 silicone. The less you stir, the better off it is. Now with the coconut milk, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's really thick and it's really good and it can go through your whole stuff. Alright, so let's talk about preparing a cup to pour. Prepare a cup. You can do a dirty cup or you can do a flip cup. So I'm gonna pour into a 5-ounce cup. These are just 5-ounce Dixies, Walmart. So I get whatever I can get on sale. If you are not poor, then don't worry about cost. But when you do a flip cup, you need to put white. You don't need to, but I put white in it because white's heavier, one of the heaviest. And so I start at the bottom with white and I put colors in. When I flip it, that white will push through the other colors and make cells. Thicker, so you need to check your consistency before you pour it in your cup. Alright, so I'm going to, so for a flip cup, I'm gonna pour down the side to make layers. So we're gonna start with blue. Gonna move to some red. There's really no rhyme or reason which way you layer your cup. The only thing I would warn against is mixing all three of your primary colors, because when you mix all three of your primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, you will get some mucky mud in your pitcher. And so, right, I'm gonna pour down the side of the cup. See, I'm pouring down and making layers. I'll pour another set for this. You can go in the same order or not. I'm gonna go in the same order, and I'm gonna make a mess of my table, because it's just what I do. I just seen a chunk in that blue, and I got to make sure I watch where it goes on the paper on things so that I don't have a chunk in my picture. Okay, so I'm gonna cross my cup, and then I'm just gonna let it sit there for a minute. Now, when you're doing a dirty pour, you don't have to put white at the bottom of your cup. I generally will, just because I like what white does to my cells. So when I say a dirty pour, you don't have to go down the side of the cup. You want to make reactions happen in your cup, and so you can pour it from up high in different areas of the same area, whatever works for you. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just random, and it makes a dirty cup, since the dirty cup pour concept. Let's start with a flip cup. That's your basics. This is a tile. When you are doing anything, so if you're working with canvases, you can put tacks on the back of it. You can tap some tacks in, and it'll support its surface. If you're doing tiles, that doesn't work. Also, on canvases, you can do the same thing I'm doing here. You put some cups underneath it. These are those same little cups that have the tops on them. You can use any of these cups. You can use any plastic cups you have. If you're from New Orleans and you know what Mardi Gras is, then you can use Mardi Gras cups. As you can see, it's painted all over to hold the canvas up. The idea is that the canvas has to lift off the table so that the paint can run over the surface that you are dealing with. So tiles, when you take them out the box, they have dust on them. Make sure you wipe the dust down, because you don't want dust in your picture, or dirt or particles in your picture. So this is a 6x6, and we're gonna do the flip cup on it. So this is a flip cup, which was layered. This is a dirty cup, which is not. So if you're only doing one cup, sometimes I do two. If it depends on the size of a canvas I'm using, sometimes I do more than one cup. If you're only doing one cup, you just flip the thing over that you're messing with and put the cup down. People that are really good, they use like spatulas, and they put the cup on it and pull it out. I'm not that talented. Sometimes I just flip it because I like the effect of the paint that comes out, because it gives more of a reaction. So once you flip the cup, you have to let it sit for a minute so that the white can still push in through those colors. Once the white pushes through the colors, it makes cells happen, and it gets your reaction going. These are gloves. Home Depot sells them, Walmart sells them. Cheapest place to buy them is Amazon. This paint is toxic. I don't know that craft paint is as toxic as like your artistry paint. So you want to keep it off your skin. So I'm going to put these gloves on. Your skin will look like this if you don't, or worse. It washes off, but it has a kind of toxicity that some people do not want in their bloodstream. So when you flip a cup, let it sit. Then when you lift it, don't just lift straight up and let the paint drop onto it, because then those paint drops are going to make different effects in that. You can pull one way or the other. You can slide up and pull back. There's a whole bunch of different techniques. You can see, you can swirl around, you can pull it straight down, whatever you're feeling like that day. Just don't pull straight into the air and just let the paint drop down, because you lose your effect. So I'm just going to pull side back. Let the paint start to settle. Even though I put alcohol in here, I'm going to torch it a little bit to get some of the bubbles and to get some more effect to pop through. See those things popping up? Those are your cells. I'm gonna let it sit for a second and finish making its cells. These tiles are slick. Now that canvas over here, not slick. So I'm going to show you proper way on this canvas. You can put a layer of white down on the canvas to give it something to slide across. Also, you can put white around what you've poured to help it slide. Okay? Because sometimes the paint's heavy and it will fold underneath each other and you'll lose your cells just because it won't move on the canvas. Okay, so just put it around, make sure it touches, make it go to the end, swipe it down, or put the paint down before you start, and you can still put it around the outside to help it move too if you want to. It's all up to you. Cheap canvases like these from Hobby Lobby and Michaels. Sometimes they're not gessoed really good. They say they're gessoed, but sometimes the gesso is not good. So either paint the canvas first or gesso it, because sometimes you'll get holes in your picture where the paint won't stick to it because there's no gesso on it or nothing else for the paint to bind to that you were trying to make stick. Okay, so let's go this way. So I'm gonna lean my canvas, and then I'm gonna pull back and go back to center. If you go back to center every time you move, you'll keep your designs more or less. Sometimes it's hard to keep anything you see right here that you love. You better hope it's in real center, because the chances of it making it to what you love after you move your canvas is hard. See, like all of those beautiful cells right there. Let's go this way. I really like those cells, but I don't know how well I'm going to keep those cells when I move it. That's what I said, if you try to control flow art and not let it flow, you will be very upset with this process and you will not like it. When I first started painting, I'm such a control freak that I was so upset that I couldn't keep that beautifulness that I loved right there, because I had to move it to the end of the canvas. And so I was so stressed out, wasting canvases left and right, didn't like the pictures, because I couldn't just let it flow. I couldn't love it for what it is and what it's going to become. I wanted to control it. And the good benefit of this, and me being a teacher, and after I deal with pre-K 4 all day long and come home to my own family, is that I don't have to be in control of this like I love to paint, and I paint pictures and that too, but I have to be in control of those pictures in my hands and that when I'm doing it. But when I'm doing flow art, I can release the control of it to the flow of the paint, and that's what makes it a stress relief. If you've heard that it helps with depression and that it helps you to relieve stress and that it gives you a sense of peace, it does, if you learn to let it flow. But if you try to be a control freak and you try to control everything in this process, it is not gonna. Now see, now I'm just gonna move it around to see if I can get what I like where I like it, now that it is what it is. And so the purple kind of made it a little muddy, but I do love those cells, so I'm gonna let you get a little closer so you can see all of those beautiful cells that are up in there. Okay. So now I have to move this to another zone, a little 4x4. And the paint that I have here is going to be way too much for that, so I'm going to probably make more than one of these. So when you're doing a dirty pour, you can pour straight center. I know you've probably seen ring pours, tree ring pours out there, but this has silicone in it, so it's hard to keep your ring with silicone, but we can try. You can just pour in any direction. You can make a certain design. You can go up and down. You can do whatever you want to do with this cup, because it is all free for you to do, because it's a dirty pour. When you flip, you get to flip. That's all you get to do. Now, when you dirty pour, you can start off real slow in the center and watch some different things happen. You can move that center, I call this making mountains or volcanoes, to another different direction. You can stop and pour again if you'd like. It's all up to you and what you're desiring at that point in time, because it's a dirty pour and you can pour it however you want to pour it. And somebody's gonna yell at me because I'm not gloving up. That's why I have this here. So I can make cells pop right now, or I can just move it and show you what it's like without cells popping. I guess I'll make cells pop. So if I heat this up again, cells will pop. See all those beautiful cells? If I would have just moved it, and then I could have heated it up at the end, but when you heat up at the end, you just get small cells. See those small cells? But when you heat up now and then you move those small cells, they stretch out to be bigger cells. But it's whatever your preference is. There's no right or wrong to any of this. It's just, what do you like? And I'm not going to go there first. So see those cells there? I'm going to stretch those cells this way. Cells. So you can still make cells pop. See those little cells? So in this little corner that doesn't have any action going on, I'm gonna make some cells pop. Maybe in this corner. But if I go across the whole thing, then cells will pop. Like I'm gonna go straight down the center here. Then I'll hold it close to you. since I have more paint in this cup, I'm going to use it. Just going to wipe off my tile and pour it down. And then I'm going to So now I'm going to show you what I'm talking about when I say you'll get small cells. I'm going to let that sit for a minute and let it start stretching itself out a little bit. So you can see all the reactions that are happening in all different directions. Try not to move it that much, I just need to close in some circles. These beautiful cells. See these beautiful cells. Put white around it so that even if I decide not to move it all the way off, that it still has paint on it. That's what I mean when I say it's okay to have negative space. If that's what you're, just move it back a little bit. Always back to center to try to keep what you have going on before you move it in a different direction. Center. I'm really liking this. Center. And I think I'm going to leave the negative space. Back to center. Too much. Okay. I really like what's going on here. And then, oh, I should have filled it in with this. Dang it, I had extra paint. Wasn't thinking, but it's okay. I'm just gonna swirl just around it. So it's just not solid white. But look at that. Isn't that pretty? Do you see all of those cells? Just from pouring it out of a cup. Then hitting a little heat to it. See all of those pretty beautiful spots in there. And so I didn't talk to you about, like, so if you have a canvas and you don't want negative space on the outside, you're gonna have to use your finger to fill in. See, tiles doesn't really matter much, but you can also fill in with a popsicle stick and not touch the paint. You can do all of that.
So these are the 3 tiles that we painted. I want to thank y'all for coming. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and comment.